Moses' generation trusted in Pharaoh's gods more than their own God. We're going to be talking about the golden calf because I think is part of our current series about evil in the world. Just run with me, guys. Listen, it's all going to be linked in the description in a playlist. And in there, I explained at the very beginning why we're doing this, but it's all to kind of answer the question, why do people choose evil? Because that's something I want the answer to. I don't get why when Jesus, God made it so easy to just receive Christ, why people still decide to choose to become consumed with evil. Today we're going to be talking about the calf, right? And I think this is particularly fascinating, given that you guys know I've been saying so much how, I find it fascinating that Moses' generation died in the wilderness. They never made it to the promised land. And one of the stories that's well known about them is that in the midst of being in the wilderness and trying to forge this relationship with God after he freed them from their captors, mind you, they decided at some point to build this golden calf, right? And so we're going to read it from the scriptures. I haven't read the passage, well, not right now, I've read it before, but I've not read it right now, so that the spirit can just flow and we can just see where God, where we end up. But what I want to say just before we get into it is that it's quite fascinating to see that, it didn't occur to me all this time. I'd been saying how I believe the wilderness period that God had with his people, because there's constantly this battle after what happened with the watcher angels, and even whatever, of this battle of the gods. Like, it's the battle of, like I said, there's two teams. It's either that we're on, God's team over here, where we're like, under the winning team, as I like to call it, the Most High God, or we're on the other side with one of the other gods, right? So we're going to get into that. And I think that what I didn't think about enough until now, until doing this series, is that what the Israelites actually just demonstrated when building this calf is almost like they were used to the gods of Egypt. And I feel like a part of them was trusting in those gods more than their own God, because obviously their God, in their mind, had left them in slavery. Why would a God that loves them, why would a good God, right? These are the questions people have for God, so I'm addressing them. I'm going to be like these weenie little leaders of today who just swerve questions and make you feel like you're going to hell for asking very valuable and reasonable questions. I can see that, a lot of them probably were thinking, hey, well, now we were under Pharaoh, now we're in the wilderness, we're having to come up against all of this, we're only trusting this manna, we don't even like it here. And we saw those gods over there, with Pharaoh, and he was living la vida loca. That might be part of the reason why they did this. So let's see this. Let's go into this, why they decided to build the calf, because the golden calf. In fact, even Pharaoh was considered to be a strong bull. Calves were a big thing in Egyptian mythology. Yes, guys, I've been doing the mythology deep dive. They were, why am I here? We're not here for this. This is not the bit I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up here. Oh, yes, that was me. I've been looking into so much. So the most prominent sacred calf in Egypt was the Apis bull, worshipped primarily at Memphis. A symbol of royal power and legitimacy, an embodiment of creative force and vitality, a mediator between gods and humans. Interesting. And so calves and bulls are a representation of fertility and strength. So yeah, this could be part of the reason. I found this a little bit ironic because I thought, isn't it funny that if they went to these gods for fertility and it worked, and then they gave birth to the generation that was going to make it to the promised land when they didn't, because they had trusted in the other God, the real one true living God. So their God might have helped them to have fertility, but then their children's God, because they went back to the actual one true living God, were the ones who made it to the promised land. So let's read from Exodus here, Exodus 32. So grab your Bibles if you like, grab your notebook, grab your Bible, grab a drink, grab a snack, because you're going to want to need it for this series. I'm telling you guys, even me, I'm here, I've got kiwi and lemon in my drink, keeping my glucose levels up and my hydration in check, because this is intense. So let's just read it and let's just see what happens and see where the Bible takes us, right? See where the Lord takes us. So when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, so he'd gone up to the mountain for whatever reason. Should we go and get some context? We may as well. So that was in Exodus 31. Let's just go to the bottom. Okay. And the Lord said to Moses, you are to speak to the people and say, above all, you shall keep my Sabbaths. So the Lord was telling him about making sure to keep the Sabbaths. And he gave Moses, when he had finished speaking to him on Mount Sinai, the 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone, written by the finger of God. Okay, so this is when God is giving him the tablets. Let's actually read this part, because this actually might be interesting. So we'll start Exodus 31. So it says, the Lord said to Moses, see, I've called by the name Bezalel, the son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and I filled him with the Spirit of God, with the ability and intelligence, with knowledge and all craftsmanship, to devise artistic designs, to work in gold, silver, and bronze, in cutting stones, for setting and carving wood, to work in every craft. And behold, I have appointed with him Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach, the tribe of Dan, and I've given to all able men the ability that they may all that I have commanded you, the tent of the meeting. I'm trying to understand what he's doing. I think in this passage, this is when God is giving. Okay, so this is okay. So basically, this whole section is God giving, Moses all this information of how to lead the people. So yeah, going back to what I was saying before, he was basically like, okay, so now that I've taken you guys out of Egypt and you need to get away from their customs, like I said, part of the wilderness period that God brings us through, even though you might not like how it looks, he's like, I'm trying to break the world out of you and instill these new godly things in you. So this is part of what was happening here, where he's explaining all these things. Like, okay, so now that we used to do that over there, this is what we do over here. So while this is going on, so that's what I'm understanding. So while this is going on, this is what then happens. So when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, because obviously the Lord is giving him the download of a lifetime, and again, think about this, like, before we get into it, we're about to see what happened. God is here like, okay, great, guys, we've moved away from there. I've got all these things. I mean, he's all giving out gifts and talents. People are getting given giftings that they don't even know about, right? Meanwhile, what are the humans doing? The people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, up, make us gods who shall go before us, right? Gods who shall go before us. So they're like, God is taking too long. They did the same thing what Saul is going to do. So this is obviously Saul's story comes later. It just goes to show that we don't change, where God has his way of doing things. You're supposed to just be patient for God to do things in his time, because he has his reasons. They don't know what Moses and God are doing on the mountain. Maybe he's taking forever, or guess what? There might be a reason. If you trust in God, then you will wait, because you know that God is promises. He's somebody, he will never leave you nor forsake you. So, and this is why, again, I say to you guys all the time, the importance of faith having to be something that you believe God's character. The foundation of faith itself, your faith in God, is that you believe he is who he says he is, without a shadow of a doubt. Because as soon as you doubt that, then you start. So this is where I think these guys were either it's they didn't trust him, or because he's taking too long. Both are human being thinking things. So what do they do now? And that's why I say humans. Wonder why there's evil in the world. Well, humans, we're inherently evil. Look at this. As soon as God's not doing what we want, this is like how people are in relationships today. As soon as somebody isn't doing something exactly how you want, the way you want it, whatever, you immediately are out. So this is why God calls us adulterous. So he makes us gods that shall go before us. Because before, what was happening? They were following the pillar of fire by day and the pillar of cloud by night. Well, that's what they're doing now. Going through the wilderness, that's how God's guiding them. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So Aaron said to them, take of the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters and bring them to me. So again, we can see now why God trusted Moses despite Moses' anxiety. Evidently, I think God understood that, because even when Moses does do the thing that he does that stops them from going to the promised land, it's only that he kind of mocks the situation. He doesn't really say he doesn't believe in God, and he doesn't go and build another God. He just kind of shows his frustration by being like, what am I supposed to, is water supposed to just immediately come out of this rock? Which is like a slight doubt in the faith of the people, towards God. But there's a difference between you being Moses and having a doubt in God, and Aaron saying, oh, as a leader, oh, everybody take out your jewelry, take out your this, we're now going to make another false God. So this is why I think sometimes, even for believers who don't understand sometimes why God uses certain people and not others, and why you might think, how would God do this and do that? It's because God is seeing in the inside, and he's like, okay, this person, they might not get everything right, they might do this, they might have this issue, that struggle, they might not be as eloquent or whatever, but this person I know is going to be reliable in this aspect in the way that this person isn't, right? Because again, Aaron's pandering to the people. It's the same thing that happened with Saul. He pandered to the people. God said, look, you wait for Samuel to come and do the thing. They thought Samuel was taking too long. The people started to complain. Saul was king. It was his job to say, hey, listen, we have to wait for Samuel. This is how it's done. There's a reason I'm king and you're not. So you guys wait patiently. We'll wait patiently for Samuel to get here, and we will do things the way that the Lord said, because thus saith the Lord, and I'm just his servant, and I must do as he requested. Right? That's what he should have done. And Aaron here should have said, yes, we were waiting for Moses, but let's not forget that he's the one that God chose to lead us, and we trust in him. So if he's taking longer, there's got to be a good reason. This is why I say to you guys that it's always important with faith that you question everything except from God's character. That's how you get the answers to a lot of questions, because you go, okay, this is happening. It can't be because God is bad, because God isn't bad. So it has to be something else. That's why I get to so many conclusions other people don't, because a lot of people, they just finish their conclusion out. Oh, okay, that just means that God's not good. The enemy loves that. The enemy loves that, because that's the whole point, right? He wanted to steal God's glory and all of that. So Aaron said to them to take off the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with graving tool and made a golden calf. So I'm even wondering if that when God has given this gift, all of a sudden, look where we're already at. It didn't take long. This is a chapter before God is giving out these gifts of gold. Because remember, it was God who had caused the Egyptians to give up their jewelry in the first place. So he obviously had a plan of what he wanted to do with this. And I believe it was to build certain things. You know, he had a plan. And even when they were going to get to the promised land, they were going to build the temple. There was all these things, you know, he had plans and strategies of what he wanted to do. But these people were so busy doing their own thing. Again, even when this is mirroring the story again of Saul, David, and Solomon, because the temple, God's temple, only got made with Solomon. Because even David, despite being, you know, obedient and whatnot, he was like, you know, I was alive in a time of war. I was at war. I didn't have the time to be building a temple. I was fighting for my life, and I was fighting for this kingdom. So when Solomon came along, after all that his dad had done, Solomon was finally able, and again, David had left Solomon the inheritance. So I'm saying that's how God does things, and God's people do things. He had left him with all the gold and the blueprint. So he's like, you just got to do it. And Solomon did, you know, and I really love reading that part, because he gets like wood that comes from like places that are like all over the world. It's just really cool how he commissions all this stuff to like come together to build this. And he's like taking, you know, other materials and stuff from all over the world. And I just think I would love to know how they made these things happen back in those days. So yeah, so while God's giving out gifts, look what we use our gifts for. This is the point of what I'm saying. This is the point. Why are we actually looking at God to be like, God, why is this happening? Why is that happening? He's like, look, have you seen yourself? Look at yourselves. I'm out here giving gifts for the sake of my glory, and you're out here using these gifts to make golden calves, right? It's literally the same thing we're seeing in the world today. Like God gives these celebrities this power, this talent, maybe, you know, this singing voice or whatever. And guess what? What do? They go and use it for the kingdom of darkness, for goodness sake. So anyway, it says, these are the gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. Good Lord, how on earth did you ever say that? Where the hell was Aaron at? And this is one of the main reasons why I say to you that I do believe that God has had to make the decision. Like, if there's just one person's faith, like if there's just one, it's like when Abraham, you know, he was worried for Lot. Was it Lot? I think when they were in Sodom with the whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing, and God's like, I'm about to take out all of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then Abraham's like, whoa, what if there's 50 people there? And really, he was just worried about his nephew, right? I believe Lot's his nephew, but he's like, but what if there's 50, and what if there's, and what if there's, and in the end, he's like, look, bro, it's okay. I'm going to make sure that they get out of there. Just tell them not to look back. And obviously, I think it's Sarah. Or who is it? Yeah, Sarah, and whoever it was looks back anyways, and they turned into a pillar of salt. But the point is, God was like, no, I really need to get rid of everybody there. Like, this is why I'm looking at the world of today. I'm like, it really could just genuinely be like, as I've been wondering all along, I've been like, why do we feel so isolated? Why does us at the winning team feel like this little tiny group of people in just an entire world that just feels so evil? And I've been realizing that maybe that's because that's exactly how it is, you know, because then, you know, eventually God's like, look, I'll save them guys, but everybody else gotta go. And the same mirroring back to the times of Noah. God's like, okay, I'll save you. And then all the people, like eight of you on the ark. The rest of everybody else on the entire planet and everything else and all other beings gotta go. You know what I mean? So there is this thing of like, listening to Aaron saying this for me says a lot to me, in the sense of like, this is why God chose trust in Moses. And was just like, look, as long as you're the one person with the faith, I can do it for everyone. Because if I'm going to say I need 50% of you to have the faith, we ain't going to get there. Ain't going to happen. I've met you people before. I've played these games before. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like that's what's being shown here, because I can't believe, listen, there's a lot of things that could happen to me. There's a lot of things I could be upset about. I could be like, God, why would you do this? You just, I could be upset about it. Like, you just letting me go on and on. You know, I have my upsets with the Lord. Even now, my upsets, I'm like, God, I know you really did not let me get to the end of this year again, you know, in this situation, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go and call him bad, and I'm for sure not going to go and give the glory of all that he has done in my life to anybody else, especially because the Bible says every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. Every good and perfect gift. So, excuse me. Anyway, I'm just bewildered by this, like, genuinely. If of Aaron, of all people, the one who was there with Moses, seeing all the 10 plagues, like seeing what was happening, and you saw God break you out after you were the one, because Aaron would have been the one who was there, because Moses grew up with away from them. Aaron was there, so he saw what happened. And then when Moses came along or whatever, and you're really going to say this, you're really going to give the glory. And isn't that funny? Because that's exactly what the devil said he wanted to do, Lucifer, when wants to get rid of the glory. He wants to take God's glory for himself, and and this is exactly, we're seeing it with the gods. This is what I'm saying. We're seeing it with the gods. They're taking God's glory, glory that belongs to God, right? Because we're now in Exodus, which is after the floods and everything. So we're seeing the gods that came afterwards. They're taking the glory. Wow. Isn't Lucifer just the devil so good at what he does? So he says, these are the gods of Israel. When Aaron saw this, and they said, oh, I've just gone on this. Hold on a minute. Have I just gone on a whole? So it says, and they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation. So, okay, so he wasn't the one who said that, but he was the one who built the altar. So they're all in agreement here. Sorry, I thought I got confused for a second. Because, I thought he'd said he'd built an altar to God, in which case. Anyways, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And it says play, not pray. Wow. And the Lord said to Moses, go down for your people whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. So basically, wow. So so Aaron makes the thing. The people proclaim that Aaron is the one this is the thing of the gods. He then builds the altar. So they're all in agreement with this, right? They're all in agreement with this, and then they go ahead and do a sacrifice. This is again another thing, guys. There's always sacrifices happening, and the reason being, I'm still working on my theory as to how actually like giving the sacrifices works with these other gods. I'm still working on this theory as to exactly because all I know so far is I have understood that with everything that's a created being, anything that God created that has life in it of a sort, God created it with a certain degree of power that can be wielded, which kind of links in with the scientific law that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So all the energy that's available is here. So in order for us to have energy use, we have to find it somewhere and utilize it. Similar to just the concept of like eating, and like for our bodies to function, we need calories. So said calories can be burnt, you know what I'm saying? But they don't disappear into nothing. They're used up, they're transferred into a different kind of something. Okay. You know, and then like, even if you look at the equation for, what is it respiration? It's like, what is it? C2H12O6, which is glucose plus what? I don't know, but I know that it gives you, when you burn the glucose, it gives you CO2 plus H2O, which is like you're getting out of what you started. You started with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and then you burning calories, right? We end up with CO2 and H2O, which is again what makes up thing. That's why combustion equations are some of the easiest to draw. It's like the burning of the fuel. It doesn't turn into nothingness. It's just converted over, right? I can't remember the equation for respiration right now. Not respiration, but whatever it is. This isn't important. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting distracted, okay? Yeah, so tomorrow shall be the feast of the Lord. Okay, so what I'm gaining from this is that somehow Aaron, okay, I get it now. I've got it, okay? I think Aaron is thinking, oh, we can just worship all these gods. Like, obviously, our God is busy right now. And there's these other gods. So we're just going to do all of the gods at the same time. So you guys will build the calf. We'll do this with these gods. And again, it's the same like I was saying before about Aaron. It's no wonder that God has Moses as the one he's like trusted, because he's like, bro's down there. And so now God's having to interrupt. He's like, sorry, Moses, we're going to have to interrupt these messages because it's getting crazy down there, just because I haven't come down to do what these people want. And this is again the importance of being able to wait on the Lord, you guys, because sometimes God is doing something and you just don't understand what he's doing, and you just need to trust, because again, none of us, and this is what I'm saying, evil will always come because none of us have the ability to have all knowledge. Even with the angels, this is where Lucifer went wrong, is that he didn't realize, and this is one of the most basic things he of all people should have realized about God at the time, is that when God is doing stuff, he's not telling any of us the full picture. None of us know the full picture. So that's where faith comes into it, where you say, you know what, I trust in who you are. I trust in, and this is where the relationship thing is key. If you have a relationship with somebody and you trust them, then in certain scenarios, it's kind of like when you watch game shows, you know, and let's say you and a person that you're friends with go on a game show, and in the end of the game show, there's the ability to win $1 million or £1 million or something, right? And then when you get there, at the end, it ends up being you and your best friend, and you didn't think that you guys were both going to get there to the end, right, of the show, right? And but at the end of the show, they do the classic, you know, split or steal. If you both choose to split, then you split the money, you both get 500k each. If one of you chooses to steal, the other person chooses to split, that person gets to take the steal person takes the full milli. And if you both choose steal, no one gets the money, right? It's one of those where it's kind of like that with the Lord, where it's like you're sometimes in a situation where you don't understand everything, absolutely everything, but you have to trust in the relationship, where it's like, okay, I trust you and you trust me. I trust you're going to choose split and I'm going to choose split, right? And let's just say it's one of those, you know, like, you know, I'm going to choose split and you're going to choose split. You might not know, you don't actually know what's going to happen exactly. You don't know what they're going to do next. You don't get to see what they're doing next, but you're trusting in the relationship. And this is why I think the devil, again, his other thing from stealing the glory is to keeping us out of the presence of God, because being in God's presence and trusting him and having that relationship is what makes you trust that. I trust God's character. He'll never leave me nor forsake me. If this is taking longer, or if this is delaying, or this is happening, it's got to be for a good reason. And this is why he attacks, the enemy likes to attack our opinion of God always above all else. Okay, so they have turned, so then God says, they've corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a golden calf and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, these are our gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it's a stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation out of you. You call them stiff-necked. This is what I'm saying. But Moses implored the Lord God. And the Lord said to Moses, I've seen these people, it is a stiff-necked people. Eesh. Now, therefore, let me alone. Oh, my wrath burn hot against them. Yeah, no wonder. Because, like, it's not even like, it's one thing to just build another God. It's another thing to then go and give that God the glory of, after all God has done for you, and you're then going to just go and give that glory away. This is what I'm saying. The Lord is like, we're prostitutes. We're like whores when it comes to the gods. We'll just go wherever we want, whenever we want. But Moses, again, is defending the Lord, implored the Lord, his God, and said, O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? I love that. We're going to actually come to that in the next part, right? And now he's going to start to talk about, remember Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Oh, I can't wait to see the rest of this. So we're going to come back to this. I didn't expect us to spend all this time in Exodus, but hey ho. Here we are. Like I say, guys, I never know. A lot of the times I have no idea where we're going with these videos. I just get an inkling to talk about something, and then I just start, and then we'll just see where we find ourselves. But yeah, so let's see where we go next with this. So come back for the next part, where I'm going to read more. We're going to reread that part of what God did and get into this stiff-necked people thing, because I feel like there's something in there that I need to do. So I'm going to probably do look into the definition. But what I want us to take away from this is that this is the nature of us as humans. Like I've said before, the Bible, it just is the Bible that tells us the nature of God, the nature of humans, and the nature of the kingdom of darkness. And like it gives us a tale to understand who we are and what we're dealing with. And a humble person will look at that and go, okay, you know what, this is actually pointed to why I definitely need God, because by myself, not only am I going to create chaos, which we see again, a lot of the Greek, Norse, and even the Japanese, I forgot to look into Japanese mythologies, all these mythologies, a lot of them started with chaos, similar like in the Bible where it says we start the world was without form and void in the beginning. And it extends off into this, then becoming an orderly thing. The proof is in the pudding that we as humans, we are the ones who create the disorder, right? And again, the law of entropy, as time goes on, entropy increases, things become more disordered. And that is a scientific law of entropy. And so, that's just the evidence. And who's the one doing it? It's us, because the way the world is the sum of all the actions of everybody at the exact same time. It's like why I say, I don't care what anybody has to say about any of these celebrities and whatever, because I'm like, we're the ones who platform them. The only reason Beyonce is getting people paying $4,000 or whatever to go to a concert is because people are paying $4,000 to go to a concert. If no one was paying even $1 to go to a concert, or not even one person was listening to her music, she wouldn't have a career. Same with a lot of these people that people don't like these days. It's like, take your attention away from them then, because you're saying you don't trust this, you don't trust this, you don't trust this company, that company, and you're the same old person who's going in there and getting involved with that. So what are we really talking about here? So anyways, we're going to come back and see what God did as a result of the golden calf. A lot was packed into this video. So see you guys in the next part. Like I said, everything's going to be linked in the description box below, in the playlist with this whole thing, origins of evil and whatnot and what have you. Because if life's a game, it's pay to win. God bless every single one of you guys watching this. I hope you're enjoying this series. I know I am. I've been in the thick of it. Everybody knows. Anyways, you guys, life's a game, it's pay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.